to wonderful program coming to you. And please don't forget to subscribe or give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching. Yeah, welcome viewers. And on the studio we have Dr. Ondimu Nyachai, Jared Onyancha, KK reporter from Kenya, and Ben Muko. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jared Onyancha, do you hear us? Okay.
Yes, I can get you, Dr. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, we are fine. We are doing fine here.
Okay.
Dr. Ndimu, jambo sana.
Yeah, long time. How are you doing?
I'm good, sir. I'm good.
Okay.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, we want to, there we have to talk about the state of the nation, that is the economy of Kenya, and we call Rutoconomics. President Ruto has come with his own theories about solving the problem of Kenya, and this one comes with his financial bill 2023, which among many things is going to increase taxes. Now, this is the proposed budget for 2023-2024, 3.6 trillion expenditure, forecast whereby 1.7 trillion goes to pay our national debt, and devolution will take 400 billion, recurrent expenditure 500 billion, and the other expenditure 400 billion. Now, in this finance bill too, that projection of 3.6 trillion, they are projecting to collect 2.5 trillion through tax collection. But current collection, as they have only collected 1.5 trillion, and they are short of 1 trillion, which has to be collected in a month's time. So there is that deficit, and it doesn't look like we can reach 2.5 trillion. What is projected, probably the best shot, they are going to get 1.8 trillion, which is sort of money. Now, this has caused a burden in the Kenyan economy. So, looking at those figures, and they are going to increase taxes, one of the things they have done a lot of changes of increasing taxes. What is your take on this financial bill? Jared from Kenya.
Thank you so much, Dr. for having me in the show once again today, and welcome so that we can have this discussion today. Now, the economic status in Kenya is really going down, with the perception which was had by the Kenyans previously that President Ruto was expected to lift the economy according to his manifestos and during his campaigns. And so far, according to the finance bill, to your question, this bill does not really show anything positive that Kenyans are going to enjoy, because wherever we walk around along the streets, you find every person is against this financial bill, which we maybe suppose they may wish to pass. So this bill will not benefit Kenyans according to the views of Mwananchi.
Good. Dr. Ndim, what's your take on that financial bill?
You know, you unloaded so much on your opening statement there, giving us some fine details, which in my view might probably confuse some of your viewers, because numbers really and attaching those numbers to how really people feel on the ground can be a little bit daunting. So telling Mama Boga about $3.6 trillion, I mean Kenya shillings, and the deficit of 1 trillion doesn't make sense, because what they're looking at for now, they're just comparing what the statements of the current president, who then was the campaigning deputy vice president, what he was telling them versus what they are feeling today. But let's go to the numbers that you just provided there. I mean, the $1.7 trillion Kenya shillings as a loan repayment sounds a little bit too high. That's almost half. That's more than half of what they will correct. That will go to repayment of loans, and then the balance is left for Kenyans to scramble over, including the national government and the county governments. And as you know, the last month's payments were very much delayed. So let's look at it from as you said, from Rutoconomics perspective, where he believes that he can also bridge the gap of the corrections by raising taxes. And we all know from simple historical information we have, the more taxes you raise, the lesser you correct. So he's not going to bridge that gap by raising taxes. That is going to hurt the economy more than what he will raise. So I don't know who his advisors are, and I believe Dr. D is one of his economic advisors. And I've always said that he's an armchair economist who has theory only and has never really practiced it. So his practice is going to tell us that the economy is going to go down the drain, and the Kenyans are placing themselves for even harder economic times come July.
Yeah.
But I do believe here today that the Kenyan economy will go down the drain if members of parliament approve the current economic statement. That economic statement, I call it a statement because it's really a proposal that has not been passed through parliament. And you all noticed yesterday or the other day how Ruto was at pains to explain whether this is a tax or not a tax, especially the mortgage tax of 3%, where every earning Kenyan will pay 3% of their income to a national pool for buying homes and building homes. So I believe we are hard for, it's going to get worse before it gets better, just for your information.
Thank you. Ben, what's your take?
Dr. Thank you so much for the time. We have been away for some time. Thank you for creating time for us to talk about our country that we love. The economy in Kenya is pathetic. And as Ondimu I just said, it looks like we were talking from the same script. That who is advising? I was just thinking about this afternoon. Who is the advisor to Ruto? Even if you are not an economist, you cannot tax people who don't have money. People are earning actually below average, and you are going to tax them. You are not serious. You are not serious at all. I'm just reading from what he has been talking about. And somebody asked him a very good question. I like the way the approach of the journalist. There's a journalist who asked him directly that, Mr. President, tell us how you want to raise this money. I'm going to tax people. Are you serious? And he says, this is my power. I have power to do it. It is not tax. And if flipping up and down, changing statements, and I kept on worried that is this the president or this is just a minister.
Okay.
When you go ahead and tax people who don't have money, who don't have anything to eat, then you don't know what you are doing in the country, Mr. Ondimu, as you have just said. And he mentioned that I'm going to do what Kibaki did. Kibaki didn't do that. If you go back on what we discussed here when he started the government, he could have followed exactly what we said. He didn't do nothing at all. Now, what Kibaki did, he brought the money, he pumped to the country, to the government or to the people to spend. If you have the money to spend, then the economy will grow. There is no country on earth will grow without the average people or middle class. If you kill people who are middle class, you tax them. Who's going to spend money? Are you going to raise the money in the country? Even if 2 trillion, you are going to tax them. I think give it time as any other country, you give them 2-3 years. This country is a mess. I'm telling you. It's not going to succeed the way it's approaching things in Kenya.
Thank you. I want you to listen to what Ruto was saying during the campaign.
Mimi nataka niwaambie hii mafuta inaongezwa usiku na mchana. Mimi nataka niwaeleze ya kwamba these people don't understand the damage they are doing to the people and the economy of Kenya. Kwa hii taxes wanaongeza usiku na mchana. Na mimi nataka niwaulize watu wa hapa Manga, tafadhali, mkiona tumesimama hapa mbele yenu, tunawaambia ya kwamba tutengeneze hiyo serikali inakuja ambayo inaelewa lugha ya mwananchi wa kawaida. Watu wa Manga, mko tayari?
Now, that is the president when he was on the campaign trail. Now, in his projection right now, he's going to increase the fuel. The time he was talking, fuel was around 119 shillings a liter, but is now through the budget is going over 200. Is the president out of touch of what he was talking, or he didn't know? What do you think, Dr. Lim?
To be honest with you, President Ruto is very sharp, and I don't think he was out of touch, and neither is he out of touch now. What I can say, he was very deceitful, and he was very dishonest at the time, because he was just campaigning to gain the seat. He did gain the seat because he was very, very, very articulate in framing the previous regime, which actually, by the way, he was part of. And by saying that the then government or administration was taxing people day and night, today he's not only doing it day and night, but he's blatantly lying about what taxes are. He was completely unable to explain what a tax is in his national address or in his response to those journalistic questions. I mean, you cannot guide by being deceitful. You know, you can only lie so many times, because he lied about the taxes. Now he cannot in any way, shape or form, do anything about the taxes, because you cannot run a country without people paying taxes. Yet at the same time, you cannot demonize governments when they are taxing people, yet he is now the government. So I don't know how he's going to reconcile the two statements. Now, also, I want you to remember 3 months ago, just less than 3 months ago, by the way, he mentioned, and it was, maybe you have that clip, where he said in June this year, Kenyans are going to buy gas at 500 shillings, down from 2,800 shillings. Now he's saying, he was only meaning to say it's only the cylinders. But I don't know where the cylinders will come from that would even cost 500 shillings. I mean, you cannot keep digging down. I think it's good for him to step back a little bit, be honest, and tell Kenyans, you know what? This is where we are at. This is what we have. It's going to be painful for us until it gets better. There's not going to be many taxes. What I will do if I were him, and if those advisors were very honest with him, and I've said this before, fill the gaps of corruption first, because there's enough money that is bleeding through corruption that can be recycled back into the system that can rejuvenate this economy. Remember what Kibaki did. Kibaki never raised taxes. What he did, he was able to steal the loopholes of tax correction. He raised the tax base, not raising taxes, but correcting the taxes that was bleeding through the system. And that's what he should also focus on, because we are losing a lot of money, not because of tax correction, but because people are corrupt. And that's where he should focus on.
Okay.
Again, am I next, Daktari? Or?
Yeah, Ben, you can talk.
Again, on top of what Daktari has just said, I think the president, as I said, is not very, very serious on what he's saying. The other day, he was saying that those who are keeping your dollars, you can keep on keeping them. We're going to purchase fuel on Kenya shillings. I don't know which class he's talking. I mean, what the approach is just using, it doesn't make sense to anybody. If you bring your money, how many sacks of Kenya shillings are you going to give somebody to give you gas? I mean, that's wrong. Actually, that's a wrong approach. Secondly, the other day he was promising people 250 million who are going to work in Germany. It was supposed to be on Thursday, 3 weeks ago. He has not come back to tell us that guy came and signed the contract or what happened. This guy is just lying after lies. You know, I mean, if I was an MP in Kenya, right now I was just thinking of impeaching him because he doesn't know exactly what he wants to do in Kenya. Secondly, in the economy of any growing country, as I've said, developing country, you can't go and start taxing the middle people who are underpaid. He's saying bottom-up approach was Obama's idea, whereby you tax people who are 250,000 and above per year, not the middle, the people who are low here. So the approach that Ruto is using, and he's coming on media every 5 hours, every 2 hours, talking just, and I mean nothing on the growth economy.
Okay. Jared.
I think, Dr. what Benny Moko is saying, as well as Dr. Ndimu, the statements are very true. The Kenyan government and the Kenyan people are headed towards a very, very wrong direction. Because the president himself is leading the country to a wrong direction. He's giving wrong information time and again. Like now, I have taken my time to walk in the streets of Narok County, Kisii County, sharing with a number of people. Everyone is complaining and regretting what happened that they voted in Ruto, because whatever he says, tomorrow it comes with a different fashion. Like now, as Ben Mko said, some few months ago, he said he's going to come up with a gas which will be costing 300 or 500 shillings. But for now, again, he turned up and said, no, I said it is for the gas cylinder. So Kenyans do ask themselves, so are we not listening to what you are saying, Mr. President? People are fed up. People are disturbed. The fuel crisis has affected every commodity across the board. Not the food, not the clothing, not the basic needs. All of them have been affected. So every person in Kenya is living under pressure and stress. And this one really calls upon those who are in the inner circle of the President Ruto. They need to give him the correct information. The working class in Kenya, the people who work for the government, are really very bitter. Like some of them feel like they can even abscond and quit their jobs, because some people, for example, teachers now, a teacher.
Oh, I think we lost.
Who is earning basic salary.
I think your internet is. Hello. Oh, we have lost. Yeah, that's a problem with Kenya. Now that we have this problem, because there are things which are constant. I mean, we can't blame Ruto for the debt we owe, because Ruto inherited that debt. So we have the debt and we have to pay it. Almost 9 trillion now we have. So what is the solution? What does he have to do if he has to save the economy? Dr. Nim?
Yeah, and when you're in a hole, the first thing you do is just stop digging the hole. That's the first thing you do. And number two, once you stop digging the hole, which is actually taking more debt, and I believe he's still taking more debt, and people are not seeing it. When he mentioned a few weeks ago,
more debt, actually, yeah,
he's taking more debt. A few weeks ago, he said now he's going to purchase gas using the Kenyan shillings, and he will be paying it in 6 months. The fact is, when you say you are going to pay and you are taking something and you're going to pay in 6 months, that's debt. He's very smart in his choice of words. He knows what to do and say so that people don't see exactly what he means. So if I take something from the store or from wherever you're taking and say, you know what, I promise to pay in 6 months, actually you're taking debt.
And the short-term debt, which is very expensive.
Which is more expensive than even actually long-term negotiated debt. So here's what I will do and advise him to do. Simple thing: stop digging the hole if you're in one. Stop doing it. How? Here's how. Negotiate the current debt with your debtors. Tell them exactly your position. Renegotiate that debt. Refinance it in such a way that you are able to repay it within your means. If you do so, the fact is you are going to be more credible. You will create more trust. And then you now move from there. That's the first thing. Number two, how are you going to repay this debt that you have renegotiated the terms for? Seal the loopholes. In Kenya, we know for sure that from the previous president's statement alone, we lose 2 billion Kenya shillings every single day to corruption. 2 billion Kenya shillings every day to corruption. In 20 business days in a month, therefore, we are losing 40 billion Kenya shillings every single month. That's how much money we are losing. And that money can go to repayment of debt. So that's the second thing they can do. Number three, they should grow the economy. And I mentioned this to you, that we cannot tax where we cannot go out harvesting where we have not planted. The government should remove the tariffs that are actually hindering the growth of the economy. The more taxes they put in, the worse it is for entrepreneurs to grow and expand the economy. The best thing is to make it easier for business people to grow the economy, attract more investments, bring credibility into the government, so that there is what we call capital inflow, especially direct foreign investment into the country that will grow the economy. You know, the last few months, there has been what we call capital flight from Kenya.
Yeah.
People have no confidence in this government. And you have seen that people are withdrawing their money from the system, and therefore they're missing the dollars. You know what? The moneyed guy in Kenya have put their money under the mattresses. They're watching and waiting to see what this gentleman is going to do. So the first thing that he should do is give these investors, give this money to people some sense of confidence in the government, so that they can bring back the money into the system, which money therefore will be circulated enough to start expanding the economy.
Dr. Nemo, I want to tell you about refinancing or renegotiating. Do you know there is a clause in the Eurobond? Specifically, you know, the Eurobond is a commercial bond that they took. It has a clause if you try to renegotiate. It has a clause that then it becomes due. When you negotiate, you have to pay the whole amount at the same time. That there's a clause like that, which is which I don't know why they were not advised very well on it. That
as you point out, I know the Kenyan economy has a lot of debt. It's not as the Eurobond. In fact, 7% of the Kenyan debt is not from the European. It's actually from China. So I believe, again, anything written down in a piece of paper can be renegotiated inclusive of the terms and services of this previous loan. So I believe the first thing is to do, have smart people who can sit down and renegotiate. Renegotiation will include changing the old terms of the loan into a new term, which will remove off some of those clauses that were hidden or were purposely there for people to pocket money.
Yeah, but then you know that it would have an impact on the credit rating. That also on that. Okay, that's your take. Ben, what is the solution of Kenya? Because it has the debt. How do we move forward from here? Because he has nothing to do with the debt, because he can't erase it away.
Daktari, if you ask me a question, I think I will be very harsh on our president to tell him that to resign.
No, it's not a harsh, but we are just discussing.
Because
I don't know. There is there's an echo from your side.
Yeah, I will echo.
Are you opening two sides maybe of the same thing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, but there is an echo.
Oh, I'm saying this. I will echo exactly what Daktari has just said. First of all, I would advise the president to refute the people who are advising him. I think they are not telling the truth, or is not following them. So he has to go sit down with them and advise them correctly. Number two, as Daktari has said, make sure you attract the investors, including us in the diaspora. If the Nike or other companies, they can't be able to go to invest or to plant their companies in Kenya because of high taxes, then you are not going anywhere. You are doomed. Number three, what you could do, let him learn from Kebaki, get the money, pump to economy where common man can borrow and spend. Then we will have a rotation or money that going around. then we will have a growing economy. And let him spend much time in the office, not on the media. Or Kebaki told them, go work. If you bring a Moi style right now, 21st century, this 2023, you are in the wrong foot.
Okay, yeah, I
Thank
want
you
to be brief a little bit. So, increasing taxes, what impact is it going to have on the people? Is it you say we are not going to have enough money in our pockets, and then there is no money going to be in circulation. Now here, and you know, most of the debt is the local people who have bought local the government bonds, which is going to be a circle because they are not going to make money. So what is the way out of Kenya in your understanding? Because if we have to grow the economy to have enough debt, other than that, negotiating, what other ways can we help? Because many of the businesses are closing down because they can't pay those taxes. And you know, they are saying that you pay taxes on your sales, not your profit. Do you hear that? That if today you made in your shop 1 million, you are supposed to pay tax on that 1 million first.
Yeah, you know, when I read that statement and I chuckled and I was a little surprised that somebody can tell you you're going to pay taxes on your turnover of the business and not exactly on your profit. And I was telling one of my friends and giving them a very simple example of Mambamboga, the hustlers who sell their produce in the market, that they went to the farm, they bought mangoes in sacks. And the mangoes somehow got delayed, and all of them were becoming ripe at the same time. And when they realized that I'm going to lose all these, instead of selling them at a high price, let me reduce the price so that I can sell them all at the same time. They may have bought those for, say, 10,000 shillings. They realize I'm going to lose all these mangoes because they are ripening at the same time. Now, the turnover would appear like they are high, and they sell them, say what?
Exactly.
Maybe at 10,000, exactly the same amount they sold it. And you are going to tax that same person on turnover, a person who is selling them at a roast. And then you are going to, it doesn't make any economic sense. That's why I'm saying there's completely something wrong with that economic statement, with that proposal. You can never tax people on turnover or sales, because we all know that things can go wrong, and then you sell things, the turnover will look high, but there's no money, there's no profit. That person will soon close down the business because they are not making any profits. So that's a simple logical example he should use for the hustlers that he wrote on their shoulders, on their back to the State House, that I'm going to tax you until you die. That's what he's telling them. I'm going to tax you until you die, because they are dying, and he's going to tax them until they die. So it's really painful to tell Kenyans, small business owners, that he was really rallying behind him, that I'm going to tax you until you die. If he's listening to this, let him hear me. He's going to lose this big by taxing Kenyans on turnover, by taxing Kenyans for the housing scheme. And you cannot tell me that he's going to tax every single Kenyan and tell them, whether you're going to buy a house or not, I'm going to tax you for housing.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
That's true. Ben, what do you have to say about
that? I think, Ondimo, I agree with what Dr. is saying. Don't tax people on, especially micro
enterprises,
people who are small business. That's where the strong and developing country comes from. That's the backbone of the economy of the country. And I mean, even here in America, you are taxed on the sale, not the parts you buy or something. It's just the sale. And you know, in Kenya again, Daktari, the banks, the interest rates are too high. How can I go and borrow money and do any development in Kenya? I mean, those are the things that the president should eat down and make sure that to attract people who are coming in to invest and borrow money. As I said, Kibaki, what he did, he pumped the money to the banks. so that the micro business can be able to borrow and return on a low rate. Remember the president, when he was campaigning, they said, I'll make sure the hustlers to go and borrow money is more interest. Has he forgotten? So I think, Daktari, we need to maybe go to those guys who are advising the president to remind him on these issues.
Yeah, but you know, when it comes to interest rates, sometimes a government does not have control how it's going to determine the rate, because like a human being, the governments are also human. They are bodies. Like now, the government of Kenya has to be rated in the world, the credit rating. Like you can see the credit rating of the different. There is an Standard and Poor's has rated Kenya as B, which is negative. Moody has actually downgraded from B to B2, from B1 to B2. Finchy is B, which this one, and when you look at the war over, I think all of those countries, they have those one which are having a AAA rating, like United States of America, their interests are low. So during Kibaki's time, you know, Kibaki paid the debts, and the debt to GDP ratio was very low. Actually, our credit went up, and that is what even made us get our own from the Eurobond at that rate. But now, because they look at all of the risks, like now Kenya's outlook, they see that we are on the cliff to default. And if we default, then our credit rating will go even worse down. That is the irony that we are dealing with Kenya in the economy. But I just wanted to mention that. Another point I wanted to ask is about one of the things we have seen, the many comments, and I want you to listen to this clip from the first.
Tukitoka hapo, nimesikia watu ya Taita Taveta, watu ya Mandera, munalia mambo ya shares yenu iko kidogo. Na watu ya Jubilee, it is true. Mimi ndio mtu anapanga maneno ya shares kwa serikali ya William Ruto. Ninakuanga naye hapa kwa mfuko. Rais akisema nataka tuangalie fulani, nasema ngoja kidogo rais, narudi kwa mfuko naangalia shares, tunakubaliana. We want you to be shareholders. So we are going to open up the share market in 2027. Nyinyi mkuja kwa soko.
Now, that is the president, the vice president saying that, and the president was asked the same question about.
Naomba tukate mzizi wa fitina kwa swali lake Ayub. Kwa hivyo sasa hivi unaweza kuambia Wakenya kwamba matamshi ya naibu wako unayakana na kuyakashifu kwamba serikali yako si kampuni ya hisa.
Haya ni mambo yako.
Kwa hivyo unamuunga mkono basi.
Haya ni mambo yako.
Tuambie.
Nimewaambia, you know, yule bwana ni mtu mwenye ako na anaweza kujieleza. Mbona nyinyi mnakuja kumleta hapa, kumleta kwa mjadala hapa? Mumemuuliza yeye akakataa kuwaona.
Tumeleta maneno yake.
Mbona mnaleta maneno yake na ni mtu mzima?
Now, that is the vice president, and the president is saying that he didn't want to confirm about it. What is your take on this, about this issue of shares that they are giving appointments on that same criteria, that they have to look like if they want to look at the cases, they want to see how many votes they brought to Kenya Kwanza before they can give an appointment. Ben. Oh, so I think you are muted.
Oh, before I answer that question, can you allow me to go back a little bit on where we left?
Okay.
You said the government has no control. I want to remind you that Obama repaired the General Motors and pumped the money so that the economy can grow. The same approach, he can do it because he has the money to pump into banks so that they can borrow the common person. Let's go continue what the vice president is talking about. I think these two guys, they know what they're doing. As I said, Ruto, I think, is following some of the things from Moi. You go talk and see how people react. So here, they want to win him because, because the guy is above 18, he can be able to explain himself. Those are his words. That's what I can say.
Okay. Dr. Nim?
Yeah, to also respond back to the original question, whether the government has control or not about the interest rates. Indirectly, the government has no control, but I mean, directly the government has no control, but indirectly they do, because they structurally have control of the structures they can put in place that indirectly affects how the interest rates are actually traded in the market. Structurally, you can tell that the government can pump as much money to the market, which might raise the inflation can go up if there's a lot of money in circulation in the market. Right now, the Kenyan inflation rate is actually trending at 10 to 12%, sometimes between 9 and 12, which they can actually manage. If the fiscal policy is to reduce the interest rate, the inflation of the market, it will reduce and have the strong economy of the value of money in the market. You all know that the most comfortable scene where the interest rate is to be 2%. But when tomorrow you wake up in the morning and you realize the value of your shilling is now useless, because you all know now the shilling is trading at 140 Kenya shillings to $1. A few months ago, it was at 120. That rate of increase is because of how we are managing our economy. And that's a fact. And the economy is managed by the sitting government. They may not have direct control, but they do. Now, let's go back to the answer that Ruto gave, that mbona mnamleta hapa. We all know the president, he is the chief executive of any regime. When he says that he's junior, who speaks on behalf of the government, he's not in control. That tells you a lot. It's not in order for a sitting chief executive to point fingers and say, mulete hapa mumuulize. Is he telling us that the most recent sacking that he did for the PS in health, why could he do what he did by sacking them for what they did and not the deputy? Why can he not condemn those statements? If I were him, I would have condemned it and say my government, and it can be very tactical by saying my government is not a government of shares, my government is not a government of shareholdings, my government is the government of the people of the Republic of Kenya. Simple and straightforward answer. Why is it so hard? Because he's looking at 2027. They are actually strategically hooking Kenyans to say, you know what, for us to have shares in this government, come 2027, we want to afford these guys in so we can get our share. That's the simplistic way of campaigning for 2027. It's a simple strategy they are using.
Yeah, don't you think? I thought that he selected Gachagua for a very good reason. He's very smart. He didn't want somebody who can appear to have another center of power. And he has left Gachagua finish himself. And I think Gachagua seems to be the man who is hated through the way he's talking. When it was like when they started with Uhuru, it's like they were dressing, putting the same uniform. It's like they were co-presidents, and they didn't want to repeat that same mistake. He's leaving this guy to finish himself. Do you think Gachagua can be on a succession line? Really, with all those utterances?
No, I think if I can chip in, as Dr. said, he's waiting until after second term. Then you will see his true colors. I want to remind you, Dr. Remember when Onyonka was the foreign affairs minister? He came to Gusii and he said, nowadays I'm the one who carries the briefcase for Moi. What happened after 2 days?
It was like,
oh yeah. So whatever the vice president talking about, Ruto knows very well. He understands what he's doing.
Okay. Yeah. And Dr. Nim, you say that about the sacking of the health PS. That did not come from President Ruto. He was threatened by the donors who are funding that that program. He was threatened. He had no choice. If he was to stick with the PS, he was to lose that funding from Mareri. So now that we are talking about shares, and we have had the president, and we have seen actually how he has appointed people. Actually, now they are saying even Kalenjinization. If you have seen this, you can see the major parastatals, the way he has appointed people. You can see from the last name where the people are coming. You know, with this social media, you can see all those people. Those South Nyanza Sugar Company, Jemeriri, whatever, all of them are crowded with this. What is it showing? Is it really, is his government reflecting the shape of Kenya?
He was very clear in his responses when he was asked that question the other day from that press conference he had at State House. He said Kenyans are just simply being mean-minded and small-minded by focusing on only appointments. I may not quote exactly what he said. He told Kenyans, let's expand this economy. Let's expand the cake in such a way that nobody would be worried about who is where. He was very tactical in his answer. What he's saying is, don't be looking at those names, because those are Kenyans just like everybody else. Are they qualified? Absolutely, that's what he said. And then he gave one simple example, which to me, I'm not a mind reader, but I can tell for sure he had a hand in the appointment of a classmate of his, he said, became number one. And he said, I had nothing to do with it. Why is he denying something that nobody has asked him? And he gave an example of where he had a hand. You know, you cannot talk of something if you had no knowledge about it.
Yeah, he was so guilty that
he was so guilty he had to point it out himself.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's again, I do agree with him that a time will come when Kenyans will not even be looking at the last names of the people who are in public service if the cake is so huge and so enough for every Kenyan. But now we know the cake is not, and the constitution is very clear about distribution of the national cake and appointments to give the face of Kenya. He did not, and he was very, he talks to you into your face, and you think whatever he's telling you is true. Unfortunately, he lies, because he said his appointment of the PSS is a reflection of the face of Kenya, when we know for sure that more than 50% are actually coming from 2 regions of Kenya, and there are some regions which were completely left out. So I don't know. Sometimes it's very difficult for you to even argue with somebody who lies to your face, because you really walk away and wash your hands and say, you know what, that's okay.
Yeah. Do you think this is has he really helped the hustlers as he campaigned? Ben.
Yes, Daktari, are you expecting the president to change? He is the same president. He's the same president who was the vice president. Remember when he was given the ministries, he only chose from his community. We forget the storm of yesterday. He's the same guy, and you know why I like about him? He doesn't mind. He doesn't even get this. What am I doing? I mean, he does what he wants to do. He said the hustlers, but he's not helping them that time.
Yeah.
How is he going to help them if he's taxing them?
Okay.
How is he helping them if he's not even creating jobs? He's getting the people who are already in Kenya investing, they are closing down the business. How is he helping them? How many industries that he's opening? Where I get worried, when he goes anywhere, he says, okay, hii barabara kutoka hapa mpaka huko tumefika kilometers 40, we will increase it to 56. When it gets to June, it will go to 100. But all roads, major roads in Kenya, they were all paralyzed. They are not even being constructed. You and me know that.
Okay.
So this guy, he lies not once, every time he comes on the media.
Okay, Ben. Onyanja, we have been losing you. We can have you talk what you want to talk, because you have been on and off. Oh, you need to unmute yourself. You need to unmute. We can't hear you. You are a mute. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, he cannot.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Yeah, we can't hear. Yeah, I think he has the internet. Yeah, we are coming to our end. So if I want to give any of your last comment, where do you think, what's the future of Kenya? Ben, you are muted. What is it?
Daktari, I'm so disappointed with Dr. Ruto. When I was here last time when Daktari was asking me, why are you giving this guy a credit? I said, the policy says give any president coming in 2 years or 1 year, he will change. Give him time. Now he has started making mistakes every time. I'm so disappointed. Daktari, I think he was praying for the country. He's a sharp guy. If he sits down and listens, I think he can change. Let him revise.
Okay. That's enough, Ben. Dr. Nimu, our time is over.
Yeah, and I echo your statements from earlier on, and also my friend Penny's statement that I don't want to repeat what he just said, but what I would say is we need a very strong opposition to keep him on toes. If that opposition was to go away, I guess we will go down the cliff very, very fast. I think we need the opposition. The first thing they should do is to focus on the current proposed financial statement, which is going to go to Parliament very soon for debate, that they shoot it down and shoot it down quickly. Because if they approve it, we're going to have a problem.
But already that one is passing. Cheragay said it will just a walkover because they already have the majority. So
yeah,
they are not even going to change even the comma. That's what he said.
And that's the unfortunate piece, because once they do it, then we are going down the cliff really fast. And if we do, then I pray that Kenyans go down the cliff fast so they can come out quickly. Otherwise, it might be a slow death.
So you want us to declare dead audience? We go to the cliff. Well, thanks, gentlemen, for your time. We hope to continue next week the same program.
Thank you.
See you next week.